Hi, and welcome to an introduction to China's 100 most influential companies. This episode will be focused on DJI, or Dajiang Chuangxin Keji Youxian Gongsi. Now, DJI is a fairly famous company internationally for its technology in drones, but before we get into that, if you are interested in other content like this, our previous episode was on Asia's largest company, Tencent, and these videos are being made possible by ReadWrite, Spoke Intelligence, who is powering the software behind tracking all these companies, and then LeaguerX. So first, let's take a look at DJI. This slide shows everything that we'll be going over today in relation to DJI. First, we'll start with the company's origin, its history. Second, moving on to its founder. Third, we'll be looking at the financials, such as the valuation, the revenue, and so on. Then we'll look at the drone lineup. There are 4 products that are on the market right now. What are the differences between them, and in terms of price point as well as specs? Then we'll look at their monopoly status in the drone market and just how much of the market share that they actually hold. Then finally, we'll wrap it all up and talk about the future of the drone market and the future of DJI itself. The company's history began at a dorm room at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology all the way back in 2006. Now, when they started distributing products in a very capitalistic manner, it wasn't until 2008. And even at this time in 2008, the DJI products were unrecognizable compared to what they were today. Their main audience was hobbyists and people who did not mind spending the time to actually put the drones together and have it be a very DIY process. And then in 2011, when the founder was visiting Muncie, Indiana, he met a man by the name of Colin Gwynn. Now, Colin went on to later found the North American branch of DJI, holding 48% of the equity. There would later be lawsuits between the two, but just after the founding of that North American entity at the end of 2011, DJI came out with its first product that was recognizable by today's markets. The Phantom. Now, the Phantom was known for developing stabilization technology for high-quality drone footage, and this was actually what drew Colin Gwynn to Frank, the founder, in the first place. He ran a startup company that did aerial footage and would be basically giving his services to anybody who needed any sort of aerial footage, and so he was looking for a way that drones could capture this type of video. And the reason he wanted to create the North American entity was he knew that product was about to be released. And then by 2015, The Economist had named DJI as being at the forefront of civilian drone technology. We'll touch on this more when we look at the actual market share, but it's impossible to have a conversation about drones anytime between 2012 and even now without mentioning DJI's name, as they've constantly been at the front of the innovation as well as had a massive amount of sales. Next, let's meet the founder of DJI. He's a man by the name of Frank Wang, and he was born in Hangzhou in 1980 by the Chinese name Wang Tao. And now Hangzhou is very interesting for him to be born in because when he was there during his childhood, it was not the city that it is today. The city has grown a reputation for innovation since Alibaba, a very large Chinese conglomerate and e-commerce company, is now currently located there. But Frank, starting the company back in 2006 out of his dorm room at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, he was able to start this company with just a grant of 2,000 USD from the university that he was able to get from one of his professors. See, he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do after college for the first 3 years, but in his 4th year, he started working on a technology that would be the predecessor to DJI's first products. And during this project, the failures of the product of the drone made it clear that it wasn't going to be a working model right away. But even after he gave his presentation to the class, the professor was so impressed and saw how hard that he had worked that he got Frank into the graduate program with this grant. In taking that grant, he then used it to found DJI. And now that professor who actually helped him get into that graduate program has been one of the long-standing board members of DJI as well as a large shareholder. And moving on to what Frank Wang is like now. Now, Frank has said that he doesn't admire anybody. The one person he cites is Steve Jobs, saying that he had a lot of ideas, but still at the end of the day, there's no true idol for him. He has been known to be much of a penny pincher, taking in very small amounts of investment capital given the current valuation of the company, as well as he is estimated to be worth a current over $3.2 billion US, and he became the youngest tech billionaire in Asia as of 2016. Now to talk about the financials for the company. Now, their financials have been nothing short of impressive for the many years that they've been operating business. As I said before, Frank has been known for penny pinching, and he has only taken $105 million in investment. While I say only, it is compared to their current $15 billion valuation given to them during their current funding round. Now, they're looking to raise about 500 to $1 billion in rumors for pre-IPO funding. This news broke at the end of March in 2018, so just a couple months ago, and they are likely in progress of collecting this capital in order to prepare themselves for an IPO. When looking at the actual revenue sources behind it, they had a revenue of 2.7 billion USD in this last year of 2017, which represents a 65% growth year on year compared to 2016. Now, 80% of this revenue was generated from the consumer drone market, and they're looking and trying to open up more industrial opportunities so they can grow their revenues even higher in the future. Here we can see a comparison provided by The Verge of the 4 consumer drones that DJI currently sells. Now, they range in price from about 500 USD to 1,500 USD. The cheapest one being the Spark is a very small drone in physical size, whereas the Phantom 4 Pro is a continuation of their most popular model from back in 2012, the Phantom. Now, these video can capture at the 4K rate, very high-end quality video, and they can fly from anywhere from about 16 minutes to 30 minutes. Now, this is a significant increase in flight time over the last few years, allowing for cinematographers to actually capture meaningful shots. And the weight of these is becoming increasingly heavy, obviously, as the technical specifications increase. But even at the heaviest, allowing for recording of 4K video at 60 FPS, 3 pounds is incredibly light compared to what it would have taken for a drone to be able to capture that kind of footage just a few years ago. And being able to move at high speeds is another thing that allows each of these products to accomplish these high quality shots. Now, the 2 products that are interesting and make DJI unique, especially when compared to companies that are just looking to compete based on price, is the Smart Spark and the Mavic Air. Now, both of these are under $1,000 and can allow hobbyists to get into having a very high quality drone without dropping $1,000 or more. This was stated by Forbes to be a major play by DJI into bringing a larger audience into the hobbyist drone market. Now, I've been saying over and over how dominant DJI is in the drone landscape, but let's look at some actual statistics that support that claim. Now, they currently have 70% of the entire global market share for consumer drones. There are some significant competitors out there, including a company started by none other than Colin Gwynn. After Colin and Jack departed ways, he went and founded his own company in America called 3D Robotics. And now there have been other companies both in China and abroad that are competing with, but still 70% of any given market is pretty strong domination of that. And then 70% market share for agricultural drones. Now, this is one of the more interesting industries, and I pointed this out because as drone and imaging technology grow and get better and better, farmers and other agricultural companies will find increasing use for these drones. So establishing presence and growing with these is a very key industry for any drone company to grow for their enterprise sales. Now, currently DJI breaks even on their sales in the agricultural world, but they're hoping within the next few years as usage increases to reach profitability. And then just to look at China in general, China exports 70% of the world's supply of drones. A lot of drones are coming out of China. This is for both industrial, military, and consumer. And so combining all those together, there's still a very strong market share with DJI holding the vast majority of those sales. And now to wrap everything up. First, let's look at the future of DJI. As I was saying before, it is rumored that they're raising between about 500 million USD to $1 billion USD in sort of a pre-IPO equity financing. Now, this would be very significant to see an IPO coming about. And if they're really in discussions and can close down this private equity funding, then we'll likely see a filing for IPO in Q4 of 2018 or Q1 of 2019. It'll be interesting to see first what their IPO price is. If you were to look at tech companies like Facebook, they've gotten very generous multiples from their actual revenue, between 20 and 25x their revenue. And with DJI already having 2.7 billion in revenue that grew 65% in a single year, it could be potentially an extremely large IPO. It will also be very interesting to see whether they choose to IPO in Hong Kong or the United States. So a company like Alibaba has IPO'd overseas, whereas a company like Tencent has stayed in Hong Kong on the Hang Seng Index. And there are a lot of things coming about if these rumors for pre-IPO filings and fundraising are true. And then also looking at the drone market in general, the Chinese Ministry of Industry and Information Technology says that the drone industry is looking to increase by about 40% for the next 2 years until 2020, and then 25% per year after that. That is massive amounts of growth. And if DJI can maintain their market share all through many years, they are going to continue to see a rise in revenue. Then finally, thanks to LeaguerX for making this video possible. If you're a startup company or an established business looking to go into the Chinese market, there's no better partner than LeaguerX. They are currently accepting applications for an acceleration program that allows you to explore the Chinese market and get travel here, meetings with potential business partners and investors, all at no cost out of pocket. The application is live right now, and I've linked down in the description. So thank you for watching this video. I'm Clayton Jacobs, and I hope you enjoyed it.